In the name of God, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, I am bold to bring you this word today. Amen. Also seek the welfare of the city to which I am sending you. Pray to the Lord for the city, because in its welfare you will find your welfare. Strange words for a strange time. But because most of us have never been exiles, most of us have never been refugees, some of us are immigrants, of course, but for different reasons we have come. But if you've never been forced from your home, then much of what you've heard, especially from Jeremiah, won't make any sense. These words from Jeremiah urging the exiles to seek the peace and prosperity, the welfare of the city of Babylon. It seems a little too much. You mean work with the enemy? For that's what the Babylonians were. They were the bad guys in this set piece. They had come and taken over the country and taken the leadership and moved the people. Working for the enemy is not usually thought of as a good idea. But the scriptures are full of ideas that strike us as strange. Full of moments that are meant to break the cycles of human misery with acts of faith and generosity and compassion. If you were a refugee, an immigrant, an exile, you might understand that. If you've ever talked to a newcomer, especially a refugee, you will know that the most common expression they offer is gratitude for being in Canada, for being able to do what they can do here that they couldn't do anywhere else. And that is almost always followed by a desire to do well, to help their new country succeed. Because they have seen what happens when selfishness rules the day. They have seen their countries destroyed, their homes destroyed, the lives of those whom they love destroyed. They know that nothing good comes when everyone is working in different directions for their own selfish purposes. And so these newcomers that I talk to, gratitude is the key to their new life. And it is a transforming thing. I think that is why when the Samaritan in Luke's gospel, one of many who had been healed, when the Samaritan of all people breaks into songs of praise, when this person falls on his face in front of Jesus and praises God, grateful to be healed, Jesus praises his faith. That was the thing in this text that struck me the most. Where does the faith come into this? What he's done is sing hymns and thank Jesus. And Jesus praises his faith. Your faith has made you well, he says. A Samaritan? A foreigner? With faith? It beggars belief, but it's a transforming moment. And the identity of this grateful ex-leper is important. That he is a Samaritan is crucial to the story that the Gospels are trying to tell. It reminds us that the people of God, however we define ourselves in the moment, the people of God don't have a monopoly on faith. The exiles in Jeremiah are called to set aside their prejudices and get involved in their new community. Build houses, live in them, plant gardens, get married, have babies. Dig in and be the community. Be eager participants in the success of the city that is not your home. I think that is an exercise of faith. And these texts would remind us that faith has nothing to do with nationality or location or even a particular expression of religious belief. But faith and gratitude are deeply connected. Gratitude is something we talk about rather glibly at this time of year. But it is the recognition that you have found something or been given something that you may have desperately wanted, but for one reason or another thought was beyond your reach. And gratitude is expressed when good things come your way, things expected or unexpected. Gratitude is sometimes expressed when bad things don't come your way. It's not the same thing as having good things come. All this by way of saying that gratitude requires that you recognize some influence beyond yourself. And gratitude, like faith, can be transforming. Now, we're Canadian, so we know how easy it is to say thank you. We know how to give thanks even in May and June and February. Well, maybe not February. The words thank you form easily on our lips. It's a national requirement. It's almost automatic when someone holds the door or buys you a coffee or offers you a gift. We're the grateful people, after all. But that's different from the state of mind that would move us to seek the welfare of the city, the country, or the globe. It's different from the state of mind that causes us to fall face down in praise and wonder. Those things do not come naturally to us. And so I'm moved to wonder how we might step up our game where gratitude is concerned, how we might think more deeply about how gratitude might change us, and how a grateful faith might be the best expression of our desire to follow Jesus. And to do that, I'm going to claim the liberty of the long weekend and invite you to participate in a little experiment. Ooh, experimentation from the pulpit, you say? I'm not comfortable with this, Mr. Lackie. I think I'd better go and check my turkey. Sit down, it'll be all right. Earlier this week, a group representing the Session and the Finance, Stewardship, and Administration Committee got together to have a little brainstorming session about things generally related to budgets and annual meetings and stuff that nobody really wants to talk about. Now, we've had a couple of really hardcore nuts and bolts conversations about the budget in recent months, and those conversations are always like having all your teeth pulled without anesthetic. They're hard. They're just hard. And so, by way of a tonic, I put together this evening meeting so that we could talk about not what we didn't have, but what we do have. So this small group, in groups of small groups, met to identify the assets of this congregation. The things that we have that we can use well, the things that we're, dare I say it, grateful for. And I've brought the list. It is random. Some of the things are repeated. I believe there's mention of the minister, which I did not coerce. I am innocent in all things, Your Honor. But I want you to hear these things. Things that a small group, there was, I think, 9 of us, identified as real gifts of this congregation. Things that we have and know and are proud of and can do well. I want you to think on how any of these things may have had an impact on your life. I want you to think about the people behind these things, or the history behind these things. Give a prayer or a word of thanks if you feel moved when you hear something specific. But then I want you to think about how these things might change your life from here on in, or change someone else's life, or change the neighborhood or the city. These things might move you to gratitude. And I would like you to think about how you might live into that. A random list of the things this congregation does well. Not an exhaustive list, by the way. If we did this with everyone who is here today, the list would be 10 times as long. Our endowments, our choir, the fact that we are accepting, strong musicians, connections with the college, generous, connections with Project Connect, our weekly givings, the congregation, a variety of rooms in the building for multiple uses, caring people, the Tartones, music, Midnight Madness, the piano, the minister, the pipe organ, generous, the building, financial resources, pies, the pipe organ, volunteers, beautiful windows, compassion, a well-stocked, workable kitchen, a good reputation in the community, a connection with the mustard seed, the gym, the women of the church, all stand and take a bow. Our location, a friendly congregation, devoted people, good community connections, meeting rooms, welcoming and hospitable, the kitchen, of course, volunteers, a connection with Samus Immigration, a connection to Medicine Hat Family Services, people with experience. You're not old, you have experience. The gym, kind people in the congregation, strong leaders, great pies, and soup. Our downtown location, our heritage, our community involvement. You may agree with some of these, all of them, none of them. You may have formed your own list. You may have come up with new ideas about who we are and what we do and why we do it. And that's a good thing. That is the point, actually. Because it's not... We feel like strangers in a strange land some days. As people of faith, as people in a downtown, denominational, well-established congregation of faithful people, we feel like strangers in a strange land. Because our faith makes us different. And as Presbyterians, the way we express our faith when compared to others makes us different. And whether we are trying to come to terms with the so-called faithless or the radically faithful, it can seem like a struggle to be Jesus' people these days. But I share that list with you because I want you to remember what you know. We know what brings life and joy. We know what we have to offer. And we know that all of it is a gift of God and not of our own doing. So it seems to me that gratitude for all of this might be a good place to start. Gratitude might make an easier path for us. In gratitude, seek the welfare of the city, of the nation, of the globe. That seems like a reasonable place to start. Because remember, it was good enough for Jesus. Can we do any better than follow in his footsteps? I think not. Amen.